Is not a right way of life a ground of austerity, sensitivity, integrity, necessary before total transformation can take place? Is not a right way of life a ground of austerity, sensitivity, integrity, necessary before total transformation can take place? Right? Questioner says, is not austerity necessary? Sensitivity, integrity, these three: austerity, sensitivity, and integrity, necessary before transformation in the consciousness can take place. The word austere means ash. The root meaning of that word is ash. You know what ash is? What remains after you have burnt a piece of wood. The ash. See the meaning of it. That is, those who practice austerity, end up in ash. So let's go into that question. Throughout the world, monks have practiced austerity. In India, there's a monk who is called Sannyasin. He renounces the world, sex, drink, drugs. He becomes a mendicant. Not organized mendicant. You understand this? He becomes a mendicant. He has one meal a day. And he can never stay in the same place twice. He has no home. And I won't go into the whole nature of sannyas. What the meaning of that word means, let's leave it for that. That is, a monk, especially in India, who lives on one meal, begging, mendicant, and never staying in the same place twice, and has abandoned the world being the senses, which is sex and all that. And naturally, he goes around from village to village, town to town, and preaches, talks about what it means to live a good life, and so on. Right? And the monks in the Western world have it carefully organized. They belong to a monastery with an abbot, authority, So, first of all, the expression of this austerity is outward side. You understand? Putting on a robe. That you have really renounced the world. There are all kinds of phony sannyasis now, here too. But they are not sannyasis. That's a very, very serious affair. And austerity is not the practicing or the denial or the acceptance of sex and all that. It is austerity, which is a form of high discipline according to a pattern laid down by the abbots and so on, there in India laid down by the Brahmanas from ancient of days. There's a pattern set, and you conform to that pattern, denying everything in yourself, your desires, your ambitions, your greed, and all that. And that's called generally austerity. That is, look what happens. You start with certainty, right? Certainty that you have given up the world, the senses, sex, and so on. You start with that. When you start with certainty, you end up in uncertainty. I wonder if you understand all this. Huh? If I start accepting everything, all the religious edicts, sanctions, and I begin to inquire into them, if I ever do, I end up in saying, my goodness, this is nothing. I don't believe in anything. You understand? When one starts with certainty, you end up in uncertainty. If you are at all intelligent, that is. So austerity has quite a different meaning, which is, may I go into it? You're interested in it? Never deny anything, but observe very carefully, intensely, and that very observation frees the mind from the worldly affairs. That is real austerity. I wonder if you understand this. Look, I observe I am violent. That's part of human structure, human nature, derived from ancient animals and so on and so on. If you accept evolution, or if you are one of those who start with creation suddenly, then you have your own game. One is violent. The ordinary person who wants to be austere struggles with violence, right? He won't kill, he won't do this, he won't do that. He won't even take part in society. He won't join the army. He's a pacifist, and so on. He's constantly denying what is. by saying, I won't. You follow all this? I say that's not austerity. That's only a form of suppression. But when one recognizes in oneself violence, that is, violence is anger, hate, envy, comparison, imitation, conformity, are all patterns of violence. To observe that in oneself without wanting to go beyond it, without wanting to suppress it, without wanting to escape from it. See the fact and remain with the fact. Do you understand? Remain with it without any movement away from it. That is the depth of austerity. We are trained to control. And control your desires, control your anger, suppress it, and give all that energy to Jesus, to Krishna, whatever. But we are saying, when you are really, the depth of austerity is not in sacrifice, is not in conformity, in training yourself to accept an ideal, but to see completely the nature of this violence. And to see it completely, don't move, thought mustn't interfere. Don't let thought carry away in any direction. Just observe it. And you will see, if you do, real depth of understanding comes, and with it intelligence. And when there is that intelligence, you don't have to struggle. It is finished. And the other thing is sensitivity. Most of us are sensitive about our own feelings, our own ambitions, our own struggles. But we are not sensitive to others, because we are so concerned about ourselves, our little self. And when there is the tremendous concentration on oneself, what one is doing, how one looks, or why shouldn't I do this? You follow? This everlasting concern about oneself. How can you be sensitive about another? How can you be sensitive? How can a man be sensitive who is ambitious? So, physically, one has to be sensitive first. Right? There is no school or college or university that's going to teach you how to be sensitive. Right? You go off to India to learn to be sensitive. Think of the ridiculousness of it. So, is your nervous reactions, alertness of the mind, are they alive? have you drugged them? You understand me? Drug them through belief, drug them through acceptance of some authority, drug your physical system as well as psychological structure by constant struggle, battling. I'm romantic. I know I'm romantic, but it pleases me to be romantic, which is contrary to seeing clearly. But I like it. So that drugs me to be, so that I become insensitive. You follow this? Integrity means to be whole. The word integral means whole, which means no contradiction in oneself. We are examining the question itself, the meaning of the words. That is austerity, sensitivity, and integrity, which is never say a thing that you don't mean. And what you mean may be doubtful. You understand? I say something, and I think that's what I feel, think, act. But what I think, feel, and act may be the result of some conditioning, of some desire, of some motive. Therefore, it's not integral. I feel like doing something. You know, that's the latest craze. I must express myself immediately. What does that mean? That is, there is no depth of understanding of that urge, the meaning of it, the content of it, why it arose, but just act because you're... And you think that is having integrity. The word integrity means to be whole. And we human beings are broken up, divided, antagonistic, dualistic. And we accept all this and try to be integrity, try to have integrity, which is impossible. So one must go into this question, what it is to be whole. First of all, any image that the thought creates about being whole is not whole. Right? Because thought in itself is fragmented, limited. Therefore, whatever it projects as the whole is not. So, then can the mind discover for itself what it means to be whole, integral, have this sense of tremendous integrity. First of all, you cannot have this sense of integrity if you follow anybody. Right? If you are a disciple of anyone, then you are merely conforming to what somebody has laid down. And that is, then you are merely romantic, playing gay tricks upon yourself. Which means to have integrity is to have no ideals, no beliefs, no sense of the past and the future. So this tremendously difficult. You can't play with all this. Because the past is dictating, is translating what is the present. Right? And the past is modifying itself through the present and going, but is still the past. How can a mind, your heart, be whole, integral, absolute, have integrity if it's living in the past? People don't. A past experience, past memories, in romantic, all that stuff. So, austerity, sensitivity, and integrity are not the first step. First step is the first step. You understand? Are you all asleep or am I? If you're going north and think that's the right direction, somebody comes along and tells you, look, what you are doing, explains your whole business, and you say to him, what is the first step? He says, stop. Then, he says, after having stopped, turn south. Do you understand this?